Welcome back to the Romans International YouTube channel. It has been a while, but we finally got a new video for you. We're pleased to say we are now back working at the showroom. Although the showroom's not fully open to the public just yet at the time of filming, but we're back buying cars, we're back selling cars. The market has actually really started to pick up in the last couple of weeks as the lockdown measures have started to ease. And now we have this, the brand new latest Ferrari out, the F8 Tributo. So we believe this is one of the very first cars to be delivered in the UK, and it will be the first car going onto the market. So I'm going to show you around the car, I'm going to talk about the features, I'm going to talk about the spec of this car, some of the different options you can get, how it's changed from the 488, and then later on in the video we'll just touch on where it sits in the market today and what the future might hold. Okay, so before we start looking around the car, let me just give you a very brief history. So this is the replacement for the 488 GTB. So since 1975, there's always been a mid-engine V8 two-seater coupe in Ferrari's lineup, and it's pretty much become their sort of core model. You know, it's very often the most popular model in the range. It's probably the first one that a lot of people think of when you think of the latest Ferrari. You know, you could certainly say the same about 458. You know, even the 360, the 355. So yeah, so it's now called the F8 Tributo. So interestingly, Ferrari have moved away from naming it another sort of 3-digit number and basically called it a tribute car, you know, a celebration car, which is very interesting. You know, as I'll show you in a minute, there are several nods to previous Ferrari V8 models, including the F40 and 288 GTO, but are Ferrari celebrating the end of the V8 as we know it, before they move towards hybrid-powered V8s. Okay, so let's take you around the outside of the car. So although I wouldn't say it's a drastic change from the 488, I do think it's a very distinctive car in its own right. So yeah, the first thing you'll probably notice is on the front bonnet, this big scoop. Of course, this is taken from the 488 Pista. What it does is it means all the airflow is coming under here, and then it goes straight through there. It's called the S duct. Creates a lot more downforce and better aero. Ferrari actually say the car is actually 10% better on aerodynamics than the 488 was. The other most notable change is on the headlights. So on the 488 and the 458, headlights came all the way up here. They're now more horizontal, and this is now a brand new air vent. So again, the airflow is coming through here, and what it's doing is it's cooling down the brakes, it's cooling down the wheels, and because this car's got quite a lot more power than the 488, it's quite an important thing to do. It means that Ferrari don't have to put bigger, stronger brakes, which adds weight, because it's keep cooling them down. On the front bumper, you'll notice a brand new design. It's much more sculpted than it was on the 488. I think it looks a lot better. And you've even got this tiny little intricate vents right down here, which is quite a cool touch. So onto the alloys. So there's basically two types of alloys you can get on the Tributo. You can get the standard wheels. Personally, I think they look pretty basic. I'm sure there's some people that like them. Or you can get these. These are the upgraded forged alloys. They're quite similar in style to the 812 upgraded alloys. This customer has spec'd them in silver, gone for a more traditional looking spec. You can get them darker or diamond cut. And then you've got carbon ceramic brakes as standard. You do have to pay extra for the yellow brake calipers. I think it's about £850. Scuderia badges, must have. You still have to pay for that. I think it's about just over £1,000. On the side of the car, you'll notice they've got now much more flared side seals, and the underdoor cover goes actually underneath the car. You can get that in carbon. You can also get front spoiler in carbon. This is quite a sensible spec. The owner hasn't sort of run away with carbon fiber options, but he has spec'd this in carbon fiber, the side air splitter. And this vent is actually very different from before. On the 488, this vent used to cool down the engine and the intercooler. The engine is now cooled from the rear, so this whole vent is now just for the intercooler, and what it does is it creates a much lower temperature for the car. It's actually 15% lower, so really improving the airflow of the car. Onto the rear, and I think this is where the biggest changes are. And I think Ferrari have nailed it with the design of this. So yes, the Lexan window, inspired from the F40, probably the most famous Ferrari V8 of all time. So the Lexan is lighter than the glass. Again, it's bringing down weight. And you've also got these louvres here. So that's helping the engine sort of release heat. So it's all functional, and I think it looks awesome too. You've now got a brand new rear spoiler. So it's now made of carbon fiber. Obviously it's painted over, but it wraps around the tail light, sort of gives the car sort of visually a lower center of gravity. The other thing I love is the new twin lights on the rear. This is a throwback to the 288 GTO. Personally, I think twin tail lights look better. And then you've also got new diffuser. So these are actually adaptive flats which open and close, which if you want to sort of reduce drag or improve downforce, it's opening and closing at the right time. Okay, so onto the interior, and the changes here are a little more subtle, but Ferrari have totally redesigned the whole dashboard. They've also redesigned the whole central bridge area, and they've redesigned the door panels. It's still very much a driver focused cockpit. So onto the seats, there's basically two main different types of seats. So you can get the carbon fiber racing seats, which some people prefer, which are more suited towards racing, or you can get these, which are more comfortable, and they're basically the sport seats. You can get a few different designs. So this is a new design. I think the owner paid about £2,000 to have this, and it's basically on top of the standard seats. You get this nice perforated inserts, and you also get this leather seats racing stripe straight through the middle. If you prefer, you can get Daytona stripes, or you can get the diamond quilted look as well. But I think these look really, really good, especially with all the contrast special stitching, which is done in red. It's actually got stitching sort of throughout. You even got the red stitching, the horses on the headrest here, which you have to pay extra for. This owner's also spec leather on the back of the seats and stitching on the back of the seats. But you can really do many variations of spec when it comes to this. You can get Alcantara, you can get different colors in different ways, different stitching, and then of course there's all the carbon fiber options, and this time Ferrari have given you more carbon fiber options than ever before. So let's have a look and see what this car has. So for me, the single most important option on this car is the carbon fiber driving zone, which gives you carbon fiber on the steering wheel, carbon fiber paddle shift. It also gives you the LED light bar, which lights up when it's optimum time to change gear. It's £4,300. I think it is crucial. Next up, you get the carbon fiber central bridge like this car's got. This is only £1,600. Again, I think that's a no-brainer. Then you've got the carbon fiber dash inserts. This is a bit more expensive. It's just under £4,000, but you do get a lot of carbon for your money. You get it all on top of the climate control. You get this lovely sweeping section here. You even get a little bit on top of the instrument dials here. But there are even more carbon fiber options you can get. You can get the door handles in carbon fiber. I believe you can now get the entire instrument surround in carbon fiber. That's a new option. And another new option, you can in fact get the whole of the front trunk in carbon fiber. I mean, that is maybe going a bit too far, but I'm sure some people will get it. What is new on the F8 Tributo is a brand new climate control system. You'll notice you've now got circular vents, unlike the 488, and the whole interface is really, really improved. You've now got this nice little digital display as well. So options this car does have, it's got the suspension lift, which raises the suspension when you're going over speed humps or going into steep drives. Very important option for some people, but don't get too hung up on it. The Tributo, like the 488, it's not the lowest car around, so you can live without it. As an everyday car, you probably want reverse camera, which this car's got. I think that's about £1,500. And another option this car's got is the passenger display. So if you've got passengers, I think this is a great option to have. It's about £2,500. It means the passenger can see what gear you're in, how fast you're going, can look at the navigation. You can even plug in your phone and choose the music from the passenger. And if you don't have that, you literally can't see anything going into it. So it is a good option to have, especially if you're having passengers. One option this car doesn't have is the upgraded JBL sound system. That's £3,500. Ferrari state they have improved the standard sound system. Personally, I don't think the JBL system is that great anyway, and besides, you're in a Ferrari, you've got your own soundtrack in the back. Okay, so unfortunately, because this is a brand new delivery mileage car, we can't take this one out on the road and hear it in its full force in the higher gears. But Ferrari do state it's a louder car than the 488. That's despite a new petrol particulate filter, which in essence should actually reduce the noise of the car, but they've created something called a hot tube. That's what Ferrari call it. And what it does is it takes the engine harmonies and it actually amplifies them, and it directs them straight over the driver's shoulder. So in the cabin, it is meant to be a louder car than the 488. It is worth mentioning there is some exhaust upgrades you can do, but don't be fooled. The sports exhaust, which is I think £400, and the titanium exhaust, which is I think £1,400, it is just the exhaust tips. It changes the look at them, barely at all would change the sound. It's not a full exhaust difference, so yeah, don't be fooled on that one. Okay, so on to the performance, and I think the F8 Tributo sits somewhere in between the 488 GTB and the 488 Pista. So it's actually got the exact same engine as the Pista, which is a 3.9 litre V8 turbocharged. And this thing actually produces 710 brake horsepower. That's 50 more than the 488 GTB. It's actually the most powerful V8 engine Ferrari have ever put into one of their production cars. You know, it's silly power. This is a crazy fast car. Does 211 mile an hour top speed, does 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds. So it's silly quick. Your throttle response is incredible. But yeah, there's other things they've done to improve the car as well. So I think they've tuned the brakes to make them a bit more responsive. They've upgraded the torque management system. There's something called the Ferrari Dynamic Enhancer, which I think is sort of electronically controls your drift, making the car a bit more stable. And there's also the newest version of the side slip control system. And what they're trying to do, Ferrari, is they're trying to make, for less experienced drivers, they're trying to make the power and the performance a lot more accessible, so that less experienced drivers can really push the car to the limits without feeling like they're going to lose control. And that's sort of the message Ferrari are trying to hammer home with this car, that it is a more usable car. It's not a 488 Pista, which is a bit more extreme, a bit more track focused. This is more of an everyday Ferrari, and the thing about it is all that performance it's got, it's more usable, you can control it more and really enjoy it as a daily driver. Okay, so how much does the F8 Tributo cost and where does it sit in the market? So the base price of the car in the UK is £203,000, but any decent spec car is going to have probably £40,000–50,000 worth of options. I'm sure there'll be some crazy examples of special paints and all sorts that will have 100k plus of options. But look, we're talking the best part of £250,000. This being the very first car to come on the market, there is a premium, but it's a pretty sensible premium. You know, there is, I'm told, a 12-month waiting list on these. So if you want one in 2020, then this is your best route. You know, holidays cancelled, weddings cancelled. If you want to treat yourself, is there a better way than buying yourself the very latest Ferrari? But look, yes, in 12 months, I'm sure they will be starting to depreciate. They'll probably follow a similar path to the 488 before it. You know, they held their money pretty well for the first year, maybe the second year, and then they started to fall away. You know, this has got the benefit of probably being one of the very last V8s that won't be a hybrid, so that will be in its favor. There's always some value to being the last in a line. You know, if anything, I think this provides a great stopgap until the SF90 comes out. I believe deliveries of those have been pushed back till next year. I think that car will be a bit of a game changer, but it is a lot more money. I think they start at over £400,000. So the F8 Tributo sits as more of a core model in Ferrari's range. Look, it's definitely more of a driver's car than the Portofino and the 812 Superfast, but not quite as hardcore as the Pista. Of course, the Pista is still a hot car. You know, we're getting lots of interest in Pistas, but I think these two cars serve sort of different purposes. And without a doubt, the F8 Tributo is the freshest Ferrari on the market right now. So as far as the summer of 2020 goes, I think it belongs to the F8 Tributo. Okay, so there we have it. That is the F8 Tributo, the first car on the market. It is, at the time of filming, for sale. It's physical, it's here at Romans. We'll put a link to it up here so you can go and see the full photos and description on our website. But yeah, look, it's great to be back making videos again. I'm sure there's going to be lots more in the coming weeks and months. But we hope you enjoyed this one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again next time.